injured in the hospital. Our prayers are with them, their families, and the law enforcement community. The agent killed in Tucson was the 5th line-of-duty death of a law enforcement officer in the last 18 years. 9 on your side's Craig Smith remembers those fallen officers.
It was late November 2018 when Deputy U.S. Marshal Chase White was at work on one of the Marshal's specialties, bringing in dangerous suspects. In this case, it was a man charged with making threats to a Tucson police officer. Marshals say when they arrived, the man fired at them through a window and hit Chase White. The man charged with White's murder is still waiting for trial. In June 2008, Tucson police officer Eric Height was looking for a suspect who had already shot up a neighbor's house and was moving across the county, firing at anyone who tried to stop him. The suspect wounded a sheriff's deputy and Officer Height. Officer Height died the next day. The gunman had been diagnosed with mental illness. He pleaded guilty to first-degree murder in an agreement that will hold him for life in a secured mental hospital or a state prison. In August 2005, Pima Sheriff's Deputy Timothy Graham went to a convenience store for a suspicious person call. The suspect fought him and they fell into traffic. A civilian tried to help Deputy Graham. An oncoming vehicle hit and killed all three. In May of 2003, what seemed like a simple hit-and-run accident led to the death of Officer Patrick Hardesty. He found a suspect. The suspect struggled, and in that struggle, Officer Hardesty was shot 5 times. That suspect is awaiting execution.
And the community has remembered these officers with things like buildings in their name or foundations to help first responders and their families. To another developing story tonight, Pima County Sheriff's deputies found a body this morning in 3 Points north of Highway 86 following a 911 call. They're calling that death suspicious. 9 on your side's Ryan Fish takes us near the scene.
Just before 10 a.m. Monday morning, Pima County Sheriff's deputies were called to this remote area of 3 Points. Deputies discovering a dead body further down this dirt road.
Something about that discovery alarmed deputies enough to call detectives to the scene.
When those deputies responded, they identified things that were suspicious, which caused them to, cause that chain reaction.
The sheriff's department being tight-lipped about details for now, confirming only that an adult body was found. A criminal investigation unit and forensics team were in the area searching for evidence.
We will be out here as long as it takes to collect all the evidence, to do all the interviews that we need to do to determine what occurred here today.
Making matters more difficult, the rough dirt roads make even driving through this area a challenge.
And it gets washed out during the monsoon season, so it's not easily traveled.
Now, there aren't many homes in this area, but I did ask one neighbor driving by what he saw this morning, and he says he'd rather not talk about it. In 3 Points, Ryan Fish, KGUN 9 on your side.
Your voice, your votes. We move now to the Ward 3 City Council race. Karen Ulick currently resides and represents Ward 3 of the City Council. She filled the seat when Paul Durham resigned. She's about to be replaced, though, in the November election with 3 candidates vying for her seat. Now on your side's Perla Shaheen spoke with each of them and tells us more about their plans for Tucson.
Ward 3 lies in the northwest region of Tucson. Along its northern border is the Tucson Mall and Rillito Park. Its southern border touches West Speedway Boulevard. Alan Harwell is a write-in candidate running as a Republican. Harwell never went to college. He's lived in Tucson for most of his life and sees himself as the standout candidate.
There's nobody to represent my point of view and challenge the status quo of who's there in City Council already.
Harwell says he wants to increase funding for the police and improve parks and roads. He also wants to advocate for the homeless.
You need an advocacy group for the homeless, someone that's been there, that already knows what it's like to be homeless. I've been homeless. I've been on meth. I've been in the hood.
Is there anything of your that you're wearing?
Lucy Labosha describes herself as an independent progressive. Labosha has been a math teacher in Tucson for 19 years.
This is from a high school I used to teach at.
First at Sunnyside Unified and more recently at Tucson Unified. She's also a veteran. She previously served in the U.S. Army as a graphic illustrator and airborne paratrooper.
My 3-step plan, my vision in this campaign is to invest, connect, and uplift Tucson.
Libosha wants to provide basic necessities for Tucsonans like shelter and food, and to deal with climate change through social justice work. She also wants to improve public transport, something she's already done on the city's Complete Streets Coordinating Committee.
Invest in people, connect neighbors, neighborhood associations, businesses, and uplift Tucson through policy and practice in an effective and equitable way.
Kevin Dahl is the Democratic candidate. He's lived in Ward 3 for 38 years, and within that time has worked for 3 conservationist nonprofits.
I'm very active in the neighborhood, doing cleanups, planting trees.
Dahl currently works at the National Parks Conservation Association and helped expand Saguaro National Park last December. As a conservationist, Dahl's key issue is climate change. He hopes to weatherize houses, improve vegetation, and get rid of carbon energy.
Climate change is the intersectional issue. It's going to affect everybody, especially the most vulnerable, most of all. It's a health issue, it's an economic issue, it's going to hurt businesses, it's going to hurt our tourism industry.
One of these 3 candidates will represent Ward 3 on City Council, but any Tucson resident can vote for the Ward 3 representative. Today is the last day to register to vote, and we'll have more information for how to do that on our website, kgun9.com.
It's Perla Sheen reporting. We're going to check out some of the top stories across the nation tonight. Facebook, Instagram, and WhatsApp experiencing major outages today worldwide. They've since been restored. The company says a faulty configuration change affected the company's internal tools and systems, which complicated attempts to resolve the problem. It comes just a few hours after a Facebook whistleblower appeared on 60 Minutes and claimed the company knew that its platforms were being used to spread misinformation, then hide the evidence. Facebook has denied those claims. Airlines are bleeding money, and it's not expected to stop soon. The International Air Transportation Association is forecasting that airlines will lose $52 billion this year. The group doesn't expect airlines to return to profitability until 2023. The report also shows in 2020 airlines lost $138 billion. You'll recall that major loss in business during the pandemic prompted the federal government to bail out some airlines. Crews are working around the clock to clean up an oil spill that shut down beaches in Orange County, California. A ship's anchor may be the culprit, cutting into an underwater pipeline. Crews believe more than 125,000 gallons of oil escaped. The mayor there says beaches in the area could be closed for weeks or even months. Orange County officials say birds and fish died as a result of that spill. Let's bring in meteorologist Brian Brennan in for Kyler Diggs. And unfortunately, what's going on there in California, Brian, back closer to home, we're seeing some sprinkles, if not some significant rain for some.
That's right. Yeah, we're seeing some rain in parts of our area at this hour. Earlier today, Safford saw some good storms. They had a gust upwards of 50 miles per hour, and they had about a ½ inch of rain. We saw some gusty winds with the lighter showers that came through the metro area, or at least kind of skirted around the boundaries of the metro area. You can see there's a few showers and even a couple embedded thunderstorms in western Pima County right now. In the metro area, just a couple sprinkles for the most part, but that activity is going to keep and continue to spread east into our area more and more over the course of the next few hours into your Tuesday morning. So for today, we ended up hitting 94, 4 degrees above what's average for this time of year, but cooled off pretty quickly with the showery activity. 76 in Tucson right now, 74 in Nogales, and 64 in Sierra Vista. So tomorrow, just be prepared, I think, for some puddles on the way into work. It might be a wet morning. 86 degrees at noon, 89 in the afternoon. We'll have a chance for showers and thunderstorms in the afternoon. They should be a little bit stronger than the ones from the morning, and then clearing out later on tomorrow evening.
All right, Brian, thank you. Many Tucsonans are looking for jobs, and employers are looking for people to fill them. We're going to explain why employers are struggling to find workers, and some job seekers say they aren't having any luck. You're watching KGUN 9 on your side. Our look at two Americas and what life is like for those looking for a job. The current job market is an interesting one, with many job postings and many looking for work. 9 on your side's Taja Davis looks into why employers can't find workers and why job seekers can't find work.
Pima County has about 500,000 people in its workforce. And while the unemployment rate is inching downwards, now at 6.5%.
Job growth is still very slow. So I guess when you ask about job postings, there may be a lot of postings, but we're not seeing maybe everyone returning to the workforce.
Tucson's Economic Initiatives Director Barbara Coffey says the pandemic's hardest hit industries are the hospitality, restaurant, healthcare, and construction sectors. The question is, are those employees coming back to work?
We're about 7,500 jobs shy of where we were in February 2020, so we still have some recovery to do.
Ramon Ganders with Tucson Asphalt says there is plenty of applicants, but they're having trouble hiring skilled and qualified workers.
There's plenty of people out there. The question is, do we have skilled positions or skilled folks out there that want to work, and or can you find them because they may be already working somewhere else?
He says finding skilled employees has always been a challenge, but now it's a perfect storm.
All the work that's now coming in, which is the most work we've seen in a really long time. So that, coupled with the lack of skilled labor, is just boom. It's just hit us hard right now at this very moment.
He says the construction industry as a whole is in a tight spot.
Years ago, we had the complete opposite conversation. There wasn't enough work. We here are now talking the opposite, where we got a lot of work, but not enough people. And so how do we get it done?
His suggestion, education. He says there are many resources out there to become skilled, like Pima County One Stop and vocational programs such as JTED and Pima Community College. Taja Davis, KGUN 9 on your side.
Let's turn our attention back to weather with Brian Brennan. You still want to talk to us a little bit more monsoon?
Yeah, we're going to touch briefly on this monsoon and 2 other monsoons that made the record books. And then we're going to talk about our next chance for rain that's coming up.
First Warning Weather is sponsored by Caesar Sportsbook.
So, as you know, our monsoon ended at the last day of last month, and it ended up being the 3rd wettest monsoon on record. The first wettest in 1964, the most wet monsoon, that had nearly 14 inches of rainfall. And taking a look across what the rest of the metro area had during that monsoon, first thing you'll notice, we had much fewer in the way of observation sites. You might also notice, look how much drier the rest of Tucson is compared to the Tucson airport. Midtown, only 6.5 inches of rain compared to 14 almost inches at the airport. Monsoon 1955, second wettest monsoon. You can see kind of the same thing. Near Davis-Monthan, just over 5 inches of rain, 8 inches of rain in Midtown. Areas on the east side, only 7 inches. Again, compared to that over 13 inches of rain. Then in 2021, we have many more observation sites, but you'll also notice many more areas that had just about the same as the Tucson airport, maybe a little bit less in some areas, but then other areas quite a bit more, nearly 16 inches of rain in spots around Tanque Verde. So I think monsoon 2021, 3rd wettest monsoon, should be everyone's favorite monsoon because it looked like it really gave, at least for our area, plenty of rain. And as we look at this map of Arizona, our area, Tucson, Pima County, even up in Pinal and Maricopa County, had